Welcome to Talking to Fence, people. Enough is enough. I'm still waiting for my drugs. 4:30 in the morning, I woke up mad about it. Like, whose day do I have to ruin? You know? I accept that it's not the CVS's fault. Okay, it's not the CVS's fault. Well, it's like I drive down there yesterday, I drove down there the day before. Lady tells me to call first. I don't want to call first. The whole point of me going there is to drive home the point that this is very inconvenient for me. I'm going to show up every day, have to drive down there every day until I get my goddamn drugs. And I drove down there to drive home the point that I reasonably expect my drugs to be here on time. Not to have to call and see if you have them every fucking day. So the real question I'm going to ask when I go down there today is, Kitty, god damn it. It's not a good start to the day. Cat knocks the bong over, spilling bong water over the fucking carpet. Oh, God. I miss Fortune. I woke up this morning all full of piss and vinegar. Yeah, I can take these Strateras, and yeah, they kind of work. If you like to be productive and kind of irritable without any good feelings. But who wants that? And then, of course, the pharmacy says the same thing. Pharmacy in LA said, you might want to call your doctor and ask for a different medication. Fuck off. I don't want to call my doctor and ask for a different medication. I want the medication I'm prescribed, and I want it on time, for fuck's sakes. Is that too much for? I don't think so. Get the drug I'm prescribed on time? Yeah, bonks plus cats. Well, the thing is, the cat jumped off the Lazy Susan with such force that it spun the Lazy Susan around, and that's what knocked the bong over. We're supposed to be participating in this community yard sale tomorrow, but we haven't even started, really, putting anything together. I think we're going to just have to back out of it last second. Paid the flour and cake bill yesterday. That was a little more expensive than I thought it was going to be. It's about $1,000 more expensive than I thought it was going to be. So that sucked, but whatever. That's just part and parcel of weddings. Everything's more expensive than it should be when you buy it for a wedding. But at least that lady's all paid off. And the dress is all paid off. So we've done all of those costs. Like the dress plus flowers plus cake, just those three things combined ended up costing like $10,000. Toss in the engagement ring, the wedding bands, the caterer. At that point, we're pushing up on 20 grand for this wedding, which is a lot more than I really wanted to spend for it. But well, it does do something for me, but it's not a stimulant. It makes me, I don't know, it makes me have a lot more neuroepinephrine, I guess, whatever that does. It does make me put a handle on some shit sometimes, but yeah, that's wedding shit for you, especially when you live up here. There's not any wedding people in Mariposa County, so everybody's got to come from another county, so there's all like delivery fees and stuff, Anyway, that's life in Wedding Town. At least we're having it here at home where we don't have to pay for a venue. It's preferable. So Lila's just going to be in attendance. She'll have a family member flower thing. We don't have we don't have bride or groom's parties. So we don't have that. We're not having best man, best woman, whatever. There's only going to be like 12 or 15 people here. It's going to be a very small wedding. But, it's going to look nice. We got a good flower lady. We have a good idea for the flower and the cake. Everything's going to tie together thematically. And, it's fine. It's whatever. But I'm happy that's not the thing that's bugging me. The wedding stuff's not bugging me. It's as I expected. It's what I expected the wedding stuff to be. Because weddings are always ridiculous. No, I don't like strip clubs. This is my third marriage, Bo, if I remember. It's Rachel's first marriage. So, this wedding's for her, really. It's, I want her to have the wedding she wants to have. Yeah, phones do suck. She deserves us to not cut corners on the wedding without being extravagant. No, I don't want a bachelor party. Bachelor parties are dumb. Not drinking alcohol helps to eliminate any interest in those kind of things. Anyway, I'm obviously fully rested. I got up so early. Even though I took half a Klonopin last night and 2 Seroquels, which did a great job of knocking me out, but well, I'm just so ready to be over Sleepy Week now. You know? So, when I go down there today, if they, again, do not have my Adderall, then I'm going to have to go to work, as they say. By which I mean, I will convey to them my unhappiness about this. Heretofore, I haven't taken out my frustration on anybody up here. Since I've moved to Mariposa, I basically haven't yelled at anybody. That's a long time to go without yelling at people. So I'll go back down there today. I'll say, when she says to call again, I don't want to call. I want my drugs to be ready when they're supposed to be ready. They're supposed to be ready on the 30th. It's now like the 5th, you know? I drive down here so that you see me every day. So that you feel how much of a problem this is for me. Because I want solutions, you know? I don't want to make it easy for you to not have my drug by me just calling in. I want you to have to see me every day so I know that you know how important it is for you to get my drug to me. And I'll say to them what I said to the people in CVS in LA too. If this were insulin, would you be taking such a cavalier attitude towards this? I don't want to wait anymore. I want my drugs today. I want them yesterday. I want them the day before yesterday. And they have the gall to suggest to me, what they just suggested in LA too. Maybe you should call your doctor and get prescribed a different drug. Maybe you should go fuck yourself. You know? Why don't you just get my drug? My mother used to say, I could just spit when she was angry. That's how I feel right now. I could just spit. Somebody needs to have their heads torn off. I don't know who it is. Dr. Ingram says, oh, there's a shortage because during COVID, so many people got prescribed it or whatever. Well, there's obviously something getting in the way of them making enough of it, like some federal agency or something. Okay, got some good news, everybody, to break up all the bad news here. I have a poop coming, and it feels like it's gonna be a nice, well-designed poop. The kind of poop that you can write home to mother about. Of course, I can't write home to my mother about it, because my mother's dead. She died of old age, you might say. You might say she died of dementia. But you could also say she died of old age. Because really, that's kind of what she died of. Okay, I'm going to bring you over here, but don't worry. I'm not going to put you into the bathroom with me. That would be rude. Instead, you can look at the dining room. There. Go ahead and dine while you're here. If you have any foods to dine on them while I'm pooing. This would be a better morning if I had Adderall. But you know, I try to keep in mind that I'm being a bit of a big spoiled boiled. Like, you can't exactly have absolutely everything you want in life exactly when you want it. Although, it'd be nice if it was like that. I'm pleased with this poop. This has been an excellent poop. That really cleared out a lot of poop from my system. Of course, now I take a couple antacids because this Strattera is giving me a lot of stomach acid. The other thing about Strattaras is if you want them to work kind of okay, you gotta take like 4 or 6 of them. I took 4 of them already, but I think I'll take some stomach acid medicine And maybe take a couple more. I don't know. I'm not feeling especially motivated today. Yesterday, I wasn't feeling especially motivated, but I took a bunch of Strateras and I got a lot of stuff done. So now let's go get stomach acid medicine. You want me to clean your toilet? Okay. There. Your toilet is now clean. And you can go to the bathroom in peace. Antacids are a good invention. They prevent you from getting stomach acid, or solve it when you get it. But I will continue to point out, they should be called antacids, not antacids. That is quite the grand bigot. I like that expression as well. Yeah, I know it's a natural. Yes, Rachel's family will be here. Rachel's dad and Rachel's mom will be here. Rachel's dad's girlfriend and her brother and sister aren't going to make it, but all immediate family will be here. So Delilah and both parents will be here. Also having a couple of neighbors come here, and I think a couple of friends from LA are coming up. So, you know, most importantly, we're going to live stream it. So if for no other reason than that, I want it to look nice, and I'm glad that
that we're doing it classy without going crazy. Well, here's the crazy thing, Lemon Melon. Do you know that you can get prescribed meth? Yeah, they have prescription meth. I mean, I could call my doctor and say, "Look, I can't get this Adderall. They just don't have it every single month. It's ridiculous. So, can you prescribe me meth, please?" I could say that. I could probably get Dr. Ingram to prescribe me meth. But I don't really want to be prescribed meth, you know? And I could conceivably ask him to prescribe me Vyvanse. I wouldn't mind taking Vyvanse instead of Adderall. But, well, I knew someone who was a methadone addict from getting addicted to opiates. The thing is, Adderall's not like that. You can't get addicted to it. You know, its withdrawal symptoms are just you're tired and hungry. Well, what the government needs to do is accept the fact that people want to do these drugs and let them do their drugs in peace, you know, and not interfere. It doesn't matter whether they need them or whether they want them. It's the same thing. It's my body, it's my decision. I shouldn't even have to get a prescription. It's ridiculous. I've been on this drug for God knows how long, too. So it's not like, you know, if it were going to be a big problem for me, it would already be a big problem for me. Instant message from the government, and you're here to help, huh? Somehow I doubt it. Somehow I doubt that you're here to help. You're from the government. You're probably just here to cause me more problems. Good morning, Winston's mom. Yeah, it refers to my prescription. It does. Like, I get it. It's not CVS's fault. But somebody needs to get yelled at. So they need to tell me who to call and yell at, obviously. Supposedly, we're supposed to be participating in a yard sale tomorrow. I've got too much stuff to do to prepare for that yard sale. I could theoretically get it all done and be ready to go if I had my Adderall. Without the Adderall, So there's a big list of chores I got here. Because right now, out front, the house looks all trashy. Because I've been pressure washing out that gray stuff off that wall so it's all over the fucking driveway. And I went and dealt with the rain gutters last night, so I got pine needles all over the driveway. I was planning on cleaning it up when I was done with the gray stuff. Just get it all when you're all done, you know? But if we're going to be participating in this yard sale, I'm going to have to get it cleaned up today. Not to mention get all the stuff out that we want to sell at the yard sale, which is just... I think we might just have to cancel our yard sale participation. Well, libertarians it's just an example of politics taking TI to its absolute end. Of course, the problem with libertarianism is that it behaves as though we can do things correctly without doing damage. The problem is this. Politically, we've done things incorrectly so much that now we have a lot of stuff that's growing on incorrect structures. You cannot just tear down those incorrect structures without... Well, it's because we live so far back here, Misfortune. If anybody's going to go to any yard sale all the way back here, then the whole neighborhood has to be participating in it, or at least multiple parties, or else, because it's 20 minutes from here to the highway, maybe more than that even, and it's an hour down to Oakhurst, where I go to get my drugs. It's half an hour into Mariposa. So because we're all the way at the very back here, the only way you're gonna get any traffic is if it's like community wide or whatever. Obviously no one's compelled to participate in it. I wanted to participate in it because we have a lot of shit to get rid of, because when we bought this house and moved in here, they had left a lot of shit here. Much of which we've already thrown away, or some of which we've already thrown away, but most of which is still here. Like, I don't need an INTJ's old electronic stuff. I don't need a Commodore Amiga computer. I don't need a Radio Shack robot. Well, Jeremiah Fix. Number one, there are other places to test nukes than above ground on islands. Number two, we weren't checking to make sure the bombs would go off. We were testing for ridiculous things, like, what happens if we park a bunch of boats there on a nuclear bomb? They sink, morons. We already knew it worked. Although with Mike, they got twice the yield they expected, so that was informative. Yeah, it was in the budget. The only nuclear testing that could ever have really been justified was first couple of tests. Once you establish that they work, you know, what more do you need to test them for? I mean, the only tests that were 100% justified was the first Trinity test and both bombs on Japan. Those were justified. Other above ground tests were never justified. So the problem with libertarianism is it denies that you have to argue in the current status quo. In the status quo, we have all kinds of systems growing on bad foundations. So if you look at the American healthcare system, it's a complete clusterfuck of disaster because people engaged initially in this frenzied attempt to avoid individuals paying out of pocket for medical care. And of course, it's created this clusterfuck of a disaster where everybody's supposed to have insurance, which inherently drives up the cost of everything by $1 zillion. Just look at Rachel's prescription for olanzapine. We go in there, they tell us it's going to cost $600. Then they say, let me look for a discount. And then it costs $20. If we have a healthcare system where a given drug can cost either $600 or $20, depending on totally random factors, we are in a big mess. Just like if I go to the doctor, it doesn't cost that much because I don't have insurance. If I go to the doctor and I do have insurance, it costs all kinds of money. Well, so what did the U.S. decide to do? The stupidest thing imaginable. Let's make everybody have insurance? No. Let's prohibit anybody from having insurance. Then we'll have actual costs that link to the actual expense of healthcare. Make everybody pay out of pocket, all of a sudden everybody's healthcare costs go way down, except for people who are extremely sick. Yeah, it's horrible. So the solution isn't single payer. The solution isn't more health insurance. The solution is treat healthcare like every other product. Let market forces determine the cost of things. Obviously, doctors won't be able to sell their product at prices that people can't afford. Let market forces drive down prices by eliminating this ridiculous price inflationary middleman called insurance companies. So, would libertarians agree with me on that? Yeah. But now let's look at what happens if we actually attempt to do that. How many people are employed by insurance companies? How many doctors and nurses are earning what they do because of these price inflations? there's this huge established vested interest in favor of outrageously inflating healthcare prices all the time. So it's not exactly clear how to solve this problem without incurring huge harms in the process. Now, granted, they'd be temporary harms and the benefits would be permanent. But nevertheless, one has to be hesitant about even inflicting substantial temporary harms on the general populace. And the devil really is in the details. You know, it's like the idea of a health insurance mandate is not a terrible idea inherently. But what would need to be mandated would be catastrophic care coverage, not what ended up happening, which is they mandate all insurance companies provide all of this extra nonsense to everybody. It's insane, right? It's the exact opposite of what you should do with your body and your health. You should operate under the assumption that you're fine until something goes wrong. Then you go to the doctor. Not this preventative care shit. It's just money down a pit. When people believe such stupid shit about their own health, they believe all kinds of crazy stuff. I typed this INTJ lady who was saying how diet is super important to health. That's completely bullshit, you know, but people believe it. Quantity of intake of food matters if you are somebody who has a slow metabolism. But it is absolutely not true that what you eat matters. The human body is, in fact, a put whatever in me that's edible and I'll process it into calories for you. The idea that you should have to eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, no, she didn't. That's just all bullshit. You need to eat a little bit of everything occasionally, but you know, for all of human existence, people have not had access to all these ridiculous, like, juice or green shit, probiotic, muggity maz, you know? But people are dumb, so they believe diet makes a big difference. It's like, well, that's what I'm putting in my body. It must make a big difference. No, it doesn't. It's just purely psychosomatic. If people think like, oh, I'm eating these different foods and I'm feeling so much better now, that's just completely placebo effect. There's zero to it. There's absolutely nothing scientific to it. So, you know, people believe stupid ass shit all the time. Understood properly, human body is an omnivore, you know? You stick whatever that's edible into it and it'll convert it into the stuff you need. That's what our bodies do. But, you know, people don't want to be rational about things. And that's fine. It's not like rationality is the end all and be all of life or anything. It's just, it's hard to get sensible public policy on things when people are so fundamentally wrong about so much. It's not even that they're wrong, it's that they're committed to their wrongness. Being wrong is fine. Being wrong is always the step before being right. So there's nothing wrong with being wrong, right? It's the necessary precursor to correctness. But it's that they're so committed to their wrongness. They're not interested in becoming right. That's the problem. And it's like that's their prerogative, right? It's like nobody has an obligation to become more right. It just makes it really challenging to operate in a world where you have people who are wrong, committed to being wrong, justifiably convinced that that's their prerogative to be as wrong as they want, at the same time don't believe themselves to be wrong, and have no interest in changing or being right. It's not a value they value, And nothing you can do about that except say, well, yeah, people value what they value, and depends on their stack. People have different values than you, Eric. What are you going to do? You're going to yell at them all? Maybe. Maybe I'll yell at them all. Maybe that'll help. I periodically think about that horrible person that Winston's mom quotes. He said, you can't persuade people no matter how utterly you refute their arguments. Well, that's true. But the one thing that you could potentially do is convince people to have faith in the right person. To forsake the argumentation over the wedge issues and such for, well, I believe that Eric knows what he's doing and knows what he's talking about. That he's both correctly intentioned, wholly honest and transparent, genuine patriot, and I believe in him. I think that's possible. Of course, I don't think I'm very good at getting people to do that. But I think that's certainly a possible thing to have accomplished. If you can get the populace to have faith in the right person who is himself correct, then they don't need to be correct. It doesn't matter what they think then. I hate that guy you quote so much. That guy is awful, awful, awful. That guy just needs to get my foot up his ass. The thing is, I've always lamented the tendency of the American voting populace to go cult of personality, as per Trump, as per Obama. That doesn't work. You need to be correct about policy and stuff. Well, you're not going to change that cult of personality thing, All you can do is hope that the cult of personality selects the right guy. And that as he executes his processes, people mature politically into more mature citizens, Because libertarianism, like every other ideological identification, is childish. It takes a nuanced combination of principle and pragmatism to govern a country well. Most of all, it takes statesmen rather than partisans. And the statesmen have to be smarter than the partisans. I mean, I guess that's part of the definition of statesman versus partisan. But these cats need to learn to stop knocking over bongs. The writer evolved to serve the elephant. She's like, look, we can look at this through two different angles. I'm a genius. You're an idiot, Jonathan Haidt. I've never encountered anybody who's more pseudo-intellectual idiot than you are. You disgust me. Everything you say disgusts me. You are definitely part of the problem. You're like, why civilization is failing. People like you, idiots who are convinced that they know what they're talking about. And write well enough to convince others. Oh, God. I just want to punch that guy with my fists. I mean, he's right that you can't change people's minds by early refuting their arguments. But he's got the wrong frame of reference, right? He's treating everybody as beneath him. He's not evaluating his own he's not incorporating an identity-based, like a agent-based worldview. And so everything he says is a reification fallacy. It's just this horrible clusterfuck of wrongness that just makes me want to puke all over it constantly. Well, and that's a good strategy, misfortune. Cherry picking ideas. And that's what Jonathan Haidt doesn't get. Instead of utterly refuting their arguments, you could say, here's a better way to make your wrong point. That at least puts them on the track of justifications being stronger or weaker, right? It engages them positively in the concept of rhetorical slope. Well, reciprocity is a currency of social life. I wouldn't say it's the basic currency of social life, but I mean, talk about straw manning, right? Opponents to evolution who correctly object to it don't object to it by saying apes and humans aren't the same thing, therefore evolution is impossible. Those who object to it have good reasons to object to it, right? Well, we're descendants of both. The world was big, right? We have both communitarian cultures and individualistic cultures, and so we're the descendants of both. Those who were extremely communitarian, possibly also endowed with extremely resource-rich environments, often led filthy little communitarian lives. You know, chasing animals around, hunting and gathering and stuff like that. More individualistic types went out and homesteaded their own place and farmed and did stuff like that. So humans are the descendants of both. Obviously, you fucking tard. And it's very clear which is superior. You know? It's like, can I convince him by utterly refuting his arguments? No. He's just explaining, I'm an idiot. I'm projecting my idiocy on everybody else. Now that's a good point. I like You by Noah Harais quote much better than anything I've ever heard from Jonathan. I hate you. You can never convince a monkey to give you a banana by promising him limitless bananas after death in monkey heaven. Well, that's true, because that kind of understanding of the world is predicated on language. And of course, abstract conceptual thought, language, is what really distinguishes humans from the animals. Animals may communicate with each other, but they don't use abstract language. You know why? Because they're stupid. They're stupid animals. Stupid, filthy animals can't talk. So, it's very important that we use language well. That's the most important thing of all, by far. If we use language well, if we use language appropriately, which is to say, we use the appropriate kind of language for situations A, B, C, the appropriate kind of language for situations D, E, F, etc., then everything's wonderful. All human failure can be attributed to poor use of language. Or insufficient use of language. Last night you learned that the thumbs up emoji is now considered inappropriate? Is it? I don't think so. It just means like, gotcha, you know? It's like, I want to acknowledge that you sent me something, but I don't want to have to communicate back to you.
Well, if you put those eyes next to it, misfortune, that's cheating. Obviously, if you put those eyes next to it, then it's gonna look sarcastic. But if you can't put those eyes next to it. They're imagining the eyes there. Yeah. They're just imagining that those eyes are there. They see it as passive aggressive. I mean, people need to have that in their playbook of language purposes. Passive aggressive is, you know, sometimes appropriate. The alternative being active aggressive or lying. So, you know, all emotions are legitimate. Whether you are justified in expressing them is a separate question. Contempt is a legitimate thing to feel for things or people. Whether or not it's appropriate to express that is a separate question. And that would depend a lot on contextual details. But it is the case that there are times when you are left with three options: say nothing, express a negative truth, or lie. For somebody like me, say nothing is a possible choice, but I certainly have no duty to say nothing if I don't have something nice to say. I reject that FE aphorism 100%. Now, if you want to like something, you have to heart it. Well, I want to encourage all of you guys to like this video. Go ahead and thumbs up it. I will take it as 100% sincere. Well, I guess then if it is a generational thing, then it just shows how in the contemporary environment one has to um, one has to read things in the context of how old the person is who's sending it. You know, I really like that quote from Alice Roosevelt. If you don't, if you don't have anything good to say about anyone, come sit next to me. Well, the thing is this: is having to justify your emotions to allow yourself to express indicate FI stack? I'm not saying that's necessarily the case. What I'm saying is it's a separate question as to whether it's a good idea to express an emotion at a given time. You can evaluate that question in terms of what impact it's going to have, or you could evaluate that question in terms of whether or not your emotion is justified by the facts proportionally in comparison against some sort of universal norm. But but yeah, if you're mad, everybody has to justify that. There's not any case where somebody doesn't have to justify that. Let's say I'm mad at you. I'm mad at you, Misfortune. What are you gonna say? You're gonna say why, right? Why are you mad at me? because you stole my sandwich. It would be a good enough reason for me to be mad at you. Because your name reminds me of this bully I had at school. That would not be an adequate justification for me to be mad at you. So, in other words, I can feel mad. That feeling's always legitimate in and of itself. But whether or not you should feel bad because you made me mad is a separate question. If you did something fucked up to me, then the answer is yes. My anger is justified and you should feel bad. If you didn't do anything to me, then the answer is no. My anger is not justified and you should not feel bad. I can still feel mad. That's my prerogative. But you should not feel bad about it. Like this morning, I'm mad, but it's not justified for me to be mad at CVS, really. They can't really do anything about it. And I want to know who I should be mad at, but I can't find out. Somebody, the FDA? I don't know. Now, I could in turn also evaluate in terms of impacts. So, like, occasionally I'll be mad at Rachel. For example, when she forgot her phone the other day when we were going. We already had this long drive to go to Modesto and back, and we were 10 minutes out from the house, and she realized she'd forgotten her phone. So I was just 10 minutes out, so I turn around and come back. I'm mad, but I'm not really justified in being mad because she didn't purposefully leave her phone at home. She just forgot her phone. It's annoying, but evaluating it in terms of both justifications and impacts, it's better for me just not to say anything. So I did a little bit of that and then was silent for a while until after we got back to the spot where we were at before we had to turn around. And then I kind of started to not be mad anymore. So in that case, I evaluated both things in terms of impacts and in terms of justification. I was annoyed, but what are you gonna do? Shit happens. Am I gonna yell at Rachel about it? I think about that, and I know how that's gonna play out. She'll just cry, and then I'll just feel bad, and so I just didn't say anything. Okay, well that's just dumb. People are trying to change cognitive functions or add to it or whatever. Defensible typology is the only typology worth paying attention to at all. Yeah, you can just ignore that stuff. It's all dumb, pointless, silly nonsense. I've already been down all those plausible roads. I did real work, you know. Sounds like you picked the right dentist, Boba Fett. Did you base your dentist choice on tip size? Well, anyway, yeah, it's not the first time she's forgotten her phone. I occasionally forget my phone too. But the difference is, if I forget my phone, I don't care. I just leave it at home. Because my phone doesn't work. So, I mean, it does this, and it takes pictures and makes little videos and stuff, but it doesn't receive or make any calls or get any text messages. I don't know why I'm still paying for it every month. Um. So anyway, let's go. Let's go outside for a second. We got to give some cutlets to the woodland friends, and we also have to smoke a cigarette. So we should go outside. There. Now, even though we're going outside, you're still charging. Don't you feel like lucky boys and girls? Okay. All right, woodland friends. I know what you need. I know what you want. I know that you're after the flavor sensation of the century. Woodland cutlets. Make it a 2-cup Friday, okay? 2 full cups of woodland cutlets coming your way. I did a pretty tidy job of that. Unusually so. I still had a lot of cutlets from last night, actually. I guess I must have put them out too late. Now I'm going to go cutlet up over here. Have you ever read that book, Who Knows Where the Red Cutlets Grow? They grow right here. Okay. Now the cutlet lovers can love their cutlets all they want. You might call them cutlet loving varmints. If you felt so inclined, I wouldn't object. Let me go get a beverage. You guys keep an eye on the woodland friends. Make sure they don't get in any trouble.
Before we start getting all murally, I'm not, I'm not thinking mural, I'll tell you that. I stopped in the living room briefly and saw the chat. In fact, I was about to sit down with my coffee and then I realized, oh, right, I'm live streaming outside. What I am thinking is getting all that gray stuff off of it. That's what I'm thinking. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see squirrels of gray eating cutlets. Look at him eat his cutlets. And I think to myself, squirrels like cutlets. And the blue jays too like cutlets as well. Come on, woodland friends. Arrive in abundance. Arrive in abundance and sup upon your cutlets. Please us with your abundant ways. Yesterday we had some real bird action going on, I'll tell you. It's like living at the aviary. Oh, but Rachel and I saw a weird thing yesterday. We don't know what it was. It's a very small cryptid. There was this thing walking across the road yesterday, and it looked like a furry, like but mammal fur kind of fur, not other kind of fur, a caterpillar like this big. I shit you not. We saw the strangest thing crossing the road yesterday. I have no idea what it is. Neither does Rachel. We think we're positing maybe a mole, but it would be a very like shaggy, furry mole. I don't know what the fuck it was. For some reason, I didn't stop and like go back and see more carefully what it was. It kind of took me by surprise. I swerved a little bit so that I went over it. And I checked my rearview mirror and it was still going fine. It's still going fine behind me. I didn't run over it. But I don't know what it was. I have no idea. Neither does Rachel. We both saw it clearly and are both tripping out about it. We don't know what the fuck it was. Like this big, right? Round like a caterpillar, walking like a caterpillar, but maybe with little feet, maybe, right? But furry like a furry cat. What was that? What was it? I don't know. It had brown and black fur. It was like what? Was it a porcupine? It would be a very tiny porcupine. It was like this big,
it walked like a caterpillar. It was round like a caterpillar, but it was furry like a cat with dark brown and black fur. Like it had like hang down fur. Never seen anything like it. Neither did Rachel. For some fucking reason, I didn't stop and like go back and take pictures of it. I don't know why. I mean, we were on our way to an errand, I guess, is why. You know, it's like dumb reason like that. It's called NI ignoring right there. I should have just stopped and gotten pictures of it. Resolve the mystery. Hopefully we'll see another one sometime. That bird there is what I call a mock. Because it's a faux hawk. Looks like a hawk, but it's just a little bird. Could call it a fawk. Maybe for faux hawk. I should probably call it that because Rachel gets confused when I say it with mockingbird. Anyway, I wonder what that cryptid was we saw. Smallest cryptid ever. It's like cryptids are usually big, but that was a small cryptid. You might call it Littlefoot because it has lots of little feet. That's how it looked like anyway. Couldn't really see because the fur was hanging down the sides of it. Possibly a young porcupine? That's not impossible. It would have to be a very young porcupine. Because it was like as big as like a bratwurst, you know? Let me see. Let me check that link. Porcupine baby. No. No way. It was not that at all. Like, it's like I'm telling you, it was like a bratwurst that was moving like a caterpillar, except it was furry. I don't know. If Rachel gets up at some point, maybe she'll have more input on it. But that's what it looked like to me. Is a furry, two-colored, furred, bratwurst-sized caterpillar. Because we couldn't see its feet because the fur was hanging down to the ground. I don't know what hedgehogs look like exactly. But, you know, picture what I'm describing, and that's what it was.
I posited perhaps it was a mole, but it didn't look like any mole I'd ever seen before. I've seen more peahen than I can shake a stick at. So I spent my whole life looking at those fucking things. Now we got turkeys up here. They're better than peacocks by far. You know, I frequently have to stop for wildlife crossing the road, including turkeys, which is cool. But that thing yesterday, that thing just baffled us both. We don't know what it was. I want to go back to that spot and look around for it now, but I know exactly where it was in the road. I could go right back to that same spot. It's almost a triangle road. Obviously, it's long gone though. You know, it crossed the road and went wherever it was going. Who knows where it was going? It could have been going miles away. I hope I find another one. You think it was a giant moth larva? That's possible. You think it was actually a caterpillar? I mean, I could believe that its furry fur would look from the moving car like mammal fur and could actually just be insect fur. I could believe that. It's plausible. But is there a larva of a moth that's like this big? I mean, that would be a big ass moth. No, there was no tail. There was no tail, and Rachel said it had a flat face. I didn't see its face, but it had no tail and it had a flat face. So you tell me what it is. I don't know. Yeah, maybe that's a Mothman larva. I wish I had taken pictures of it. It looked like a little mammal, but I don't know any mammal that looks like that. Or walks like that. They're just kind of like shuffling along like a caterpillar, you know? Anyway, whatever it was, we'll probably never know. But I guess if I did a lot of Googling, maybe I could find a picture of something that looked like it. And figure out the answer. Rachel and I took a walk yesterday. It's really um, come into growing season, you know. There's maple trees erupting everywhere. There are oak trees erupting everywhere, erupting in leaves and growth, you know. It was a lovely walk. There's plenty of spots where you could just stop and look, and it's just, you just see this verdant forest stuff, you know. It's nice. There is something called the puss caterpillar. It is much bigger than an inch. This was much bigger than an inch long. It's just much bigger than an inch. So it couldn't have been that. That's a good guess. If it had been just an inch long, then I would say yes, that was it. But it was like, 6 inches long or something. I don't know. Maybe 7 or 8 inches long. Fat like a sausage. So anyway, the mystery will never be solved probably. But maybe it will someday. You never know. Like one thing this Stratera seems to do to me is it makes it harder for me to enjoy I'm glad Rachel's chiming in on this. That's great. Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate you chiming in. Yeah, it looked like nothing I've ever seen before either. So, I don't know. It was pretty trippy. I can't believe I didn't stop. We could have a much better, we could have photographic evidence of it, you know? I'm glad I didn't run it over. I couldn't completely, like, I couldn't stop in time or whatever, but I was able to make sure I went over it, like, under the middle of my car so I didn't get run over. Boy, you remember that person we were behind yesterday, Rachel, coming back home? That person was going so slow. What the hell was up with them? They must have been following their GPS. That's my guess. And it was leading them astray. I mean, do we have any beavers around here?
It didn't have a flat tail like a beaver, though. I don't think there really are any beavers around here. That's a bear. Oh, Mammals of Yosemite Park, I see. Mole. It, that's what I thought. It didn't look really like that. It kind of had the same body shape a little bit as a mole, but it didn't have that tail and didn't have those feet. Marmot? Maybe a baby marmot? That's not inconceivable. Pocket gopher? Could have been a pocket gopher. What's this? Oh, golden beaver. You know what, Rachel? It does kind of. Oh, not that much, though. It doesn't have the tail there. It might have been a pocket gopher. Okay, I'm looking through this whole PDF at all the different mammals in Yosemite. This is a great PDF, Winston Small. Great job. You get 5 wonder points for this PDF. This is a PDF I will refer to again. I think it might have been a pocket gopher. Okay? I just looked through all of that stuff, and beavers make dams, and it might have been a pocket gopher. So I'm gonna try to look up pocket gopher and look at some more pictures of them. Pocket gopher. Images. Well, these things have tails, and that didn't seem to have any tail. But we're conceivably in the right area of thing. There's some of these shots on Google Images kind of look like it, but there wasn't any tail. Because it could have had a tail chopped off or something. Maybe some predator ate its tail off. But the thing is, these things clearly have 4 legs. But it's getting pretty close to what we saw. Like I see one image here, like looking at it from the top. It could be, but I'm not sure. That's the best guess. That was a great PDF. I really enjoy that PDF. I will look at that again. I have it still open as a tab. Marsupials carry rabies. Well, I won't be playing with any marsupials. Don't worry. I think marsupials are gross. And as far as I know, the only marsupial in North America is the possum. And Rachel and I one time saw a possum in Arcadia with a bunch of baby possums on its back. And it looked like a hideous mammalian-ish scorpion monster. It was horrible. Possums, of all the creatures that are not bugs, most make me say ew. Among bugs, what makes me most say ew are potato bugs, but also now Rachel and I have scorpions on the mind. Because we had a scorpion in the house the other day that we found. It was dead. And yeah, that possum was disgusting. And the scorpion was dead and had no stinger on it. We're not sure if one of us stepped on it and walked it into the house, or if one of the cats brought it in. The only two possibilities. But it didn't have any stinger on it. So my thought is probably one of the cats got it, took the stinger off somehow because he realized that, or she realized that stinger is dangerous, and then brought it inside. Because if it had been one of us who'd stepped on it, why would it have no stinger on it? We would have just stepped on the whole thing, including the stinger. I wear flip flops a lot, so I should probably wear shoes more around here. Put on my boots like a regular man. I'm a man wearing boots. I'm still very city. Got my flip flops. I got my cod piece. It's very urban to wear a cod piece. I wonder if there's anybody who, as their standard underwear, wears a jockstrap with a cup. You never be too careful. I don't want to get hit in the balls. I like that we wear them too, but I tell you something, Rachel. If you're in the mood to order a package, I could use some more robust flip flops than these. Those kind of thicker ones, you know? Because yesterday when we were walking, every time I stepped on a rock, it was like, ow. So, I could use a pair of mountain flops, which are just regular flip flops, but they're thicker, more sturdy. Mountain flops. Yeah, I should use gloves to clean out the gutters. I will next time I clean out the gutters. Oh, cool. Thanks, Rachel. You're the best. So our payment to the cake flour went through. So we got an email from her saying you're all paid up and looking forward to your wedding. Meow, meow, meow. So that's good. And it's Friday morning. Fine time for fandangos. I'm feeling frustrated by the lack of Adderall.
but there's nothing I can do about it. I have no connections for that. I don't have any good drug connects with that. It sucks. I'm just too old to do cocaine anyway. Cocaine's not a good drug. Cocaine's a drug for kids. I wish I could get things like Molly, even acid. I would take acid right now if I had to connect. If I could get like a half a hit of acid, I'd take that. Instead, I just make do with the small amounts of drugs that I have. Just weed, mushrooms, amphetamines, Strattera, Seroquel, Klonopin, gabapentin. That's like it. It's like all the drugs I could do. Pretty sad, huh? I'm sure I could figure out how to hook up acid in the Bay Area if I wanted to, but the Bay Area is just so sketch, you know? I don't need to get a sheet of acid. I definitely do not need to get that much acid. But a little bit of acid would be fine. I enjoy mushrooms, but I enjoy them most when they're combined with Adderall. That's an important combination. Adderall and mushrooms go well together. Adashrooming eliminates all of the sometimes overwhelming serotonininess of it. So that you're shrooming, but you're also bright and chipper. It's a good combination. And of course, you should always mix in some bong rips. Those help your mushroom trips to become more fully realized. Oh, really? Well, good for him. Unfortunately, he got busted. I'm sorry about that, but good for him for selling marijuana. The only better thing than growing and selling marijuana is just randomly getting 5 free pounds of it in the mail. Pretty crazy, pretty ridiculous, pretty impossible. Somebody's writing this shit, obviously, because why else would we get out of the blue 5 pounds of weed and 2 ounces of mushrooms in the mail? Obviously, somebody's writing this shit, you know? It has a very pre-written feel to it. I think it might be the Holy Ghost. It's I could maybe score it through Corey. I don't know, but Corey's difficult about that kind of stuff. He doesn't want to be my connect, you know. If I could get some, I would love to get some for Rachel. That would be fun. We bought this magazine at the supermarket yesterday about the Beatles, and the cashier was quite chatty. She told a story about a kid one time saying, "Hey, you gotta listen to this band; they're great." He handed her the headphones. She put them on. It was the Beatles he was listening to. Apparently thinking he discovered some new band, you know. I invited Corey as best I could. I don't know what. I invited him via Facebook, via Liz, go to Facebook. I have to look to see if they RSVP'd. If they did, I probably need to call Corey. It's like there's a lot of things to do. I need my Adderall. Things that are very challenging when I don't have Adderall are not challenging when I do. Like, how am I supposed to really put a handle on shit today? I don't, and I have the double problem of not really being irritated by not having Adderall, which makes me just want to kind of focus on that irritation, and the problem of actually not having Adderall, which means I don't have any Adderall. Well, I don't know. Let's go smoke a cigarette and think about it. I could get started sweeping out here. I still haven't firmly decided to cancel our participation in the yard sale. I'd rather not if we could avoid it, but because, you know, it's like boo failure, boo. At the same time, I was imagining that I'd have it by now. So it's messing up my expectation matrix, you know? You know how it goes with your prime directive. Your expectations and realities don't match up. You get all panty bunched. Now I know they'll give you a partial prescription. It's true. I got that last month because I only had 40 of my 60 pills. But then you have to call your doctor back again as soon as you use it up, and then I don't know. I guess I should just call my doctor and ask him to switch it to 5 minutes, you know? But who knows if they even have enough of that? Because from what Dr. Ingram told me, now the other speeds are getting, there's like shortages of them too because everybody's switching from Adderall. What a conundrum, right? That Blue Jay Way song isn't very good. Please don't be long. Please don't you be very long. Please don't be long. That's what I feel about that song. But it never obeys me. It's always too long. It's not a bad song for about 2 minutes, you know? Oh, George. Did we really need to include you so much? The only good thing about that song is right after it comes, let's all get up and dance to a song that was a hit before your mother was born. Though she was born a long, long time ago, your mother should know. Your mother should know. That's a good one. Sing it again. Let's all get up and dance to a song that was a hit before your mother was born. Though she was born a long, long time ago, your mother should know. Your mother should know. The winner. Also, I remembered the song I was trying to remember that Rachel and I sound good singing together. It that we sang on a stream a while back. It's this one. The day breaks, her mind aches. And in her eyes you see nothing. No sign of love behind the tears, cried for no one. A love that should have lasted years. Pew, pew. I think I'm singing it in too high of a key, but anyway, that song. That's a good one. Such a well written song. So sad, too. Rachel asked me in the car the other day what, like, one of the first songs I remember liking was, and it's the Tigger song from Winnie the Pooh. The wonderful thing about tigers are wonderful things. They're the wonderful thing about tigers are wonderful things. Their tops are made out of rubber, their bottoms are made out of springs. They're bouncy, trouncy, fancy, fancy, fun, 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 fun. But the most wonderful, wonderful thing about tigers is I'm the only one. I'm the only one. I learned that song very young. I learned to sing that song. And I still remember it accordingly. You remember things better when you learn them very young. The wonderful thing about tigers is tigers are wonderful things. Their tops are made out of rubber, their bottoms are made out of springs. They're bouncy, flouncy, 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 fun, 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 fun. But the most wonderful thing about tigers is I'm the only one. They're bouncy, flouncy, trouncy, trouncy or something. I don't know. Bouncy, flouncy, flouncy, flouncy. It's fine. It's close enough. It could be all flouncies. In fact, if you want, it's fine. Are you saying meth is a bad choice? Well, let's not rush to judgment here. Some people get prescribed meth. It's true. If your ADHD is super bad, you get prescribed meth. What do you think made Tigger so wonderful, Hero Lamb? I think it was the meth. The jumpy, bumpy, clumpy, thumpy. Okay. There's another verse to it. The wonderful thing about tigers is tigers are marvelous chaps. They're loaded with vim and vigor. They love to leap in your laps. They're jumpy, bumpy, clumpy, thumpy, fun, 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 fun. But the most wonderful, wonderful things about tigers is I'm the only one. I'm the only one. The wonderful thing about tigers is tigers are smoking some meth. They're constantly tweaking out, and that is why they're the best. They're fun, 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 fun. The most wonderful thing about tigers is smoking meth. Tigers smoking meth.
Well, that's something gonna have to do to your teeth. You know, we all had our meth head phase, I'm sure. Right, guys? You guys have all had your meth head phase, right? No? Just me? Gosh. I feel so alone. The proper term is scanty, I think. Scanty? Women are the ultimate drug. I don't think you should use women like a drug. I think they'd probably prefer to be treated more like human beings. But you know, that's just my thoughts. I don't want to mansplain it to you. Eric Thor is straight edge. Oh, and talk about wasting your youth here, man. I'm straight edge too. I don't drink any alcohol, Eric Thor. Not a drop of it, except for a teeny little bit in the non-alcoholic beers I drink. Oh, I'm not disappointed, Eric Thor. I'm proud to be drug free. I get high on life by getting high on drugs. Well, punk rockers, there's some bad characters. You gotta watch out for the punk rockers.
I think you're a punk rocker.
Thanks. I love you, my darling.
I love you, my darling.
The cat spilled your bong this morning.
Oh no, really?
You may want to add a little bit more water to it.
Okay. Yeah.
I half-assedly cleaned up the carpet where it smells.
I can't really smell it.
Well, what happened was this. Capillo jumped off the Lazy Susan with such force that it caused the Lazy Susan to spin around.
Wow.
And the bong fell over.
Wow, she made it an adventure.
Yeah. I'm glad, Eric Thor, because your fists are qualify as deadly weapons for a reason. You study the ancient Swedish martial art of Yurgi-gurgi, which is known as the most deadly of all the martial arts. That's how you keep order when there's trouble on your journey boat. when people make trouble on your journey boat, you bust out your ancient Swedish Yurgi-gurgi martial arts moves. And it's lights out. I'm not putting up with no shenanigans on my journey boat. Is that how you guys won all those wars? Sweden is known as a country that's won a lot of wars. How many wars has Sweden won, do you think, Eric Thor? I'm curious. All right. I'm sorry. Don't turn the urinary boat around and go home. Sweden, you don't think of them as a country that's gotten into many wars, but I bet back in the day Sweden got into some wars. Otherwise, they'd be part of Denmark, probably. You know, the Danes, they seem a little bit more warlike than the Swedes. They've got those helmets with the horns on them. You know, that's Danish. They're not just breakfast pastries. They're also a warlike people, the Danes. Now, the least warlike country, obviously, is Switzerland. Look at their Swiss Army knives. How many things on that Swiss Army knife really function as a weapon? Almost none of them. Sweden won the 30-year war in the 1630s and against Denmark in the 1500s. They had told you Denmark was up to some shit. And then they lost a shit ton of wars in the 1800s. Huh. Well, do you guys hate the Danes? You guys like those Danes? Those Danish people, they are evil. That's how Chinese people are about the Japanese, you know. When I was in China, they had a movie on TV that the title of which translated to "All Japanese Must Die." It was like, I guess, a World War II set movie. I didn't watch it, but that's some deep-seated dislike right there. The Koreans also do not like the Japanese. Like, even in contemporary Korean TV, enemies will be sometimes uh, like old people who were sympathizers or colluders with the Japanese during World War II. Japanese don't like Russia either. The Japanese also don't like Greenpeace. I seen an anime the other day how this one Japanese fisherman hero guy, among his list of his accomplishments was defeating defeating environmental groups. So the Japanese are just like, let us kill however many whales and shit we want to, you know? Hi, Nympho Estrada 52. You missed all the good stuff. All already happened. Now it's just forehead for the rest of the day. Steven Seagal is apparently quite a terrible person. But, you know, so say the rumor mills. I've never visited a rumor mill before. I haven't checked their methodologies, but that's what they say about Steven Seagal, is that he's quite an awful person. So,
personally believe what they say about Steven Seagal. But you may not. And that's your prerogative. Now, I will go get my coffee from inside the house and return. Did I forget about Chuck Norris, somebody says? Yes, I did forget about Chuck Norris. I've never heard any bad rumors about Chuck Norris. I've never heard any stories about how Chuck Norris is a terrible guy. I'm assuming, therefore, Chuck Norris is fine. Afford him the benefit of the doubt in the absence of hearing anything negative about him. I'm assuming Chuck Norris is fine. But Steven Seagal, not so much. I also haven't heard any bad things about The Rock. I'm sure The Rock is fine. He falls in that general category of martial artist, I guess, because he was a wrestler, you see. Trying to think of any other famous martial artists. I haven't heard any bad things about George Foreman. He says that he names all of his kids George for some reason. Like, why would George Foreman name all of his kids George? Doesn't that seem dumb? There's so many other names that he could possibly choose from besides George. You Blue Jays need to get along better. Stop fighting over the cutlets. Just share the cutlets. There's plenty of cutlets for everybody. We're gonna have a cutlet party tonight. All right. We're gonna have a cutlet party. All right. Tonight. We've got nothing better to do than have some cutlets and sit around and stew. The Blue Jays are over there in the gravel by the driveway, having their cutlets. They're still arguing with each other. One of them keeps trying to chase the other one away. Like, get away, these are my cutlets. Squirrels, squirrels, squirrels in my pants. We've got plenty of squirrels if we ever decide to put together a squirrel army. And march on Washington. The Million Squirrel March. Demand more cutlet entitlements. That's what we should do. We should gather all the squirrels together and march on Washington to demand that rural residents be afforded free cutlets from the government so they can feed into the squirrels. that's that's a good plan. Hey, we're rural. We should get free sunflower seeds. Squirrels all across America are counting on this. I think a good title for a show about Eric/Eric and Rachel would be called Grasping at Strauss. Be a good reality TV show. What do you think? It would be our version of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Grasping at Strauss. It's a play on words. Do you really think Mrs. Olsen on Little House on the Prairie is an ESTJ? I've never thought about it before, ever. Um, I like Miss Fortune's review of it. That show was so slow. All I remember is grass. That's worth 2 wonder points, Miss Fortune. You just get awarded 2 wonder points right there for that hilariousness. The only episode of Little House on the Prairie that I remember, even though I watched it a lot, because whenever I was homesick at grandma's house or whatever, there was 4 channels on TV, and sometimes the best thing to watch, the only thing that was on even watchable for me as a kid, was Little House on the Prairie. Anyway, I remember the episode where Michael Landon is going to receive a large inheritance, and it turns out to be Confederate dollars. And like in the episode, he makes a bunch of like promises and stuff to people, like when the money gets here, I'm going to do this, and then the money gets there and it's nothing but Confederate dollars and it's worthless. So I remember that episode because that I just thought like, oh, the FE torture, you know, it really resonated with my cognitive function stack. That's the only episode of it I remember. It was just such a girl show, you know. It's all about like this. I remember there was this like prissy proper girl who was like the bad girl in it, right? And and she was nasty. I didn't like her. She wore white prissy dress all the time, you know. What was that girl's name? The bad girl. She was like maybe the daughter of the preacher. She was a good actress because I remember being like, "Oh, I hate that bad girl," you know. I wonder if people came up to her and like insulted her in public and stuff because they thought she was the person she played. Like, I hate you so much, you bad girl. You're such a bitch to Laura Ingalls Wilder. Well, do you know which bad girl I'm talking about? Nobody's named the bad girl yet. All right, I'll Google it. I'll Google it for you, you lazy bums. Let's see. Who is the bad girl in Little House on the Prairie? Nellie. Oh, let's see. Who is the blonde brat? Damn it. Nellie Olson, the blonde brat. Allison and Arngrim is the gold standard of how to embrace and, yes, exploit a juvenile character that you last portrayed more than 3 decades ago, gratifying old fans and making new ones without seeming pathetic or pandering. Arngrim gained fame playing Nellie Olson, the blonde brat supreme of Little House on the Prairie TV series that ran on NBC from 1974 to 1983. She's performing her one-woman show in which she talks about Nellie, the show, and the rocks and shoals of her real life in the Long Center Rollins Theater from Tuesday through Sunday. This is Austin, Texas. So she'd only get any offers for things that happened in the 1800s. Huh. She started doing stand up at age 15 while still appearing on Little House on the Prairie. Interesting.
Well, that's interesting. I wonder when this article came out. 2018. Quite a while ago. Well, she was doing a one-woman show in 2018. It's now 5 years later. Maybe she's a victim of COVID. Okay. 7:30 in the morning. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do or not do today. I'm feeling kind of counter motivated at the moment. I never seen Game of Thrones. I've never seen it. I did watch Queen's Gambit. That was good. I enjoyed that. Okay, I guess I'm going to end this stream now and figure out what I'm going to do today. And hopefully at some point I get Adderall and then I'll be streaming again later. At the moment, I'm just feeling like kicking the dirt. Gosh darn it. I don't know. I don't mean to be spoiled. I feel kind of spoiled complaining. But anyway, I gotta call this to a close and then maybe have myself a little bit of a lie down. Have to go pee. See what the morning brings. For now, adios. I wish you a fond farewell, and I'll see you later, hopefully.